Hi, this is Mike making my video. It's 4/16/2025 and it's almost 6 o'clock in the morning a.m. So anyway, I'm basically making this video to talk about things as far as science is concerned and religion. I'm trying to get away from using religious connotations when explaining miraculous phenomenon, but it's just more or less the human mind that does it. Produces these hallucinations that pretty much amount to objective reality. Subjective hallucinations create objective reality. So with that being said, there's there really isn't any other way to describe it other than the fact that it's all simulation. I pretty much came to that conclusion. I pretty much threw in the towel, per se. I no longer am trying to understand it and quantify it. It's just I do understand it. And, they say that, well, they say that, it's a simulation, and that's really what our minds are. Our computers, very advanced computers, what they say, 200,000 times or 200 times, 20,000 times more powerful than the most powerful computer. I think it's 200,000 times, but anyway, if you think about it, that's really, we're dreaming, and then, you raise your energies high enough, you're able to compute, and you're able to create miracles, and have an effect on objective reality. Objective reality, in a nutshell, is just basically an extension of the human mind. And when we observe things, we have an effect on it. So just by looking at something or touching something, we have an effect on that particular thing. So it could be the whole landscape in front of you, stuff that seemingly is miles away, but we still have an effect on it. And it becomes real, like a developing picture, photograph, and in our mind. And because of that, it's like, the images in a mirror, that they're behind the mirror, and those images are, in essence, trapped inside the mirror. And those images that we see from day to day, they're trapped inside our mind. And so with that being said, it's all just an illusion, a very well crafted, highly crafted illusion. The emergence of reality, it's just an emergent state. And we just have an effect on it. We have an effect on things that we observe. And and that it's more or less like the double slit experiment. When you have a counter that has an effect on the electron passing through the void passageway, and then what it does is it creates something in the superposition where everything exists everywhere at the same time. But as soon as you observe it, as soon as that counter observes that one particle, that one particle becomes physical, and it was a wave. So that's why hence you have the two different patterns, the interference pattern and the other one. So anyway, that's how that works. And then basically that's all this world really is more or less just a manifestation of the mind. So Everything we see is going to be gone at some point in time. Everything we touch, taste, smell, uh, see, and hear, all those things. The people uh, in that scheme, basically, in all the objects in that scheme, our jobs, our title, our ego, anything associated with the ego is all going to disappear at some point in time. And our friends or family. Um, but that's just the ego is basically the mind. It makes it all up, and it gives you the notion that you're important. Sometimes overly important, and basically it gives you the notion that uh, your self worth or whatever is more than it is. Really, in essence, people don't really care about you. And the thing is a lot of us have inflated egos. A narcissist, is a prime example. Somebody who thinks they're better than a lot of other people. And there is truth to that. There are people that are considered better just by who they are, and sometimes people think they're better, but that's not always case typical. And there's that, and then of course your mind, your subconscious mind, your creative side. When you allow the servant to take over and the master steps down, the servant is like the helper, the Holy Spirit. The creative side, Sophia, wisdom, and that part of your mind actually gets to be powerful. But then, of course, that side, making peace with the other side, when they both work together, you can move mountains. So that's when you become one-minded, the singularity. And your brain actually, when you have weakness, when you're in a state of weakness, when you're humble, the poor in spirit, basically heaven's domain belongs to you. And your brain actually releases DMT, and that DMT is something that's a survival mechanism. And it gives your mind the ability to see and do things that you could never do before. And of course, the world around you is a projection of your mind. It's a hallucination of your mind. Your mind hallucinates reality, and basically, the more powerful the delusion that you experience, the you have a lot of DMT that gets released, and like in your dream state, you can fly, you can walk through walls and stuff, and then of course that bleeds through to your waking state, and your waking state, the emergence of things, um, takes place, and then you're able to bend and manipulate the space-time universe around you, and you can actually do things that you normally couldn't do. So all that is it's a higher vibration. Your mind is actually processing at a higher speed, and of course when it's processing at a higher speed, then you can enter into the Father's domain. So it's a lot of being alert, and of course your beliefs, and of course being determined and having a powerful you know a burning desire, and of course when you collapse the wave function, when you give in and you allow things to take place, then of course you submit, and then what happens is you're doing all that kind of stuff, and then if everything is right, the recipe is correct, and then you're able to break through and do these types of things. And of course, you got to have gratitude, and you have to have patience, and you know, you just you know, of course, you reap what you sow, uh, give and take, and there's a few other things to that, you know, but more or less, that's in essence, you know, how to do it, and in essence, you know, how to be a magician. Uh, but you know, really, in essence, what it is a powerful delusion. A lot of these things that you see, I mean, not everything, of course, but a lot of these things, you know, the NPC actors in this game, you know, a lot of the entities are actually NPCs, and they're more or less computer generated. And you know, I had a dream one time. I was dreaming about Pixar cartoons, and then I woke up and you know, I looked at my dog, and she was a Pixar type dog. And then, of course, after about a second or two, you know, then she turned into a normal dog. So that just more or less told me that, you know, everything's pretty much a computer generated illusion. And she was developing into the dog, so she started to materialize. But in that process, she looked like a Pixar cartoon. So, you know, if you have a very powerful computer and, you know, you basically you have a picture, let's say a drawing, and then you run it through a bunch of stages, and then that turns into a lifelike looking being. And of course, you animate it, and then, you know, it's almost like it's indistinguishable from this reality that we are in. So, you know, things disappear, things freeze, things start on fire, walls open up, ceilings open up. People on the other side of the glass mirror, you know, there's that. You talk to them, you talk to spirits, you see giants, you see gargoyles, Bigfoot, uh, you know, Chef Boyardee, the Wicked Witch of the West, and you know, a number of other things, dragons, UFOs, aliens, uh, things like that. And then, of course, you know, we're playing like this game, and you know, things that are just beyond our peripheral vision. You know, you see that. You turn your head a little bit, you can see into that room, but you move your head just enough, and then all of a sudden you see a gray film cover the window, and that really tells you that, you know, we're living in, you know, it's those things don't exist until you observe them, so they got to be in your field of view. And of course, there's that, and then there's, you know, things that you look at. There's extramission and intramission. So when you look at it, it's almost like a laser beam hits that thing, and then it basically has an effect on it. It becomes real, just like a quantum particle. And of course, the moon can be like a quantum particle. So, you know, it's like when you look at the moon, it becomes real. Or if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there to see it or hear it, you know, does it make a sound, or does it even fall, or doesn't even exist, you know? So if I have my teddy bear behind my pillow, I mean, I forget about it, does that mean that the teddy bear's there? If I don't observe it, it's not. So, you know, that's really ultimately how it is. Or you have a piece of wood, does the inside of that wood exist? Or you snap it and then you open it up and then you realize, oh, okay, it's real. But was it real? It didn't become real until you opened it up. That's really, in essence, the nature of quantum physics. And, you know, but yeah, it's all an illusion. It's a very highly crafted illusion, and I'm very convinced of that. So, anyway, have a good day.